So let's get right into it. We're going to talk about something that's at the very heart of every human connection. Something powerful, but honestly, pretty misunderstood. We're talking about acceptance. Think of it as the invisible framework that lets our relationships not just, get by, but really truly grow. But first, let's start with a basic truth we've all experienced. In any relationship, even the best ones, conflict is gonna pop up. It's just part of the deal. But have you ever really paused to ask why? Why is it that friction seems almost unavoidable when you share your life with someone? Well, the answer is actually kind of beautiful when you think about it. Conflict doesn't happen because something's broken. It happens because two completely unique individuals with their own histories, their own quirks, their own way of seeing everything are trying to build a life together. And that very diversity, that's where the sparks can fly. Okay, so if a little bit of conflict is a given, what's the answer? We hear the word acceptance all the time, but what on earth does it actually mean? Because chances are it's not what you think. Let's clear some things up. Here's the thing about real acceptance. It is not a passive thing. It's not about just gritting your teeth and tolerating something. It's an active, conscious decision. It's about looking at the entire person, the good stuff, the messy stuff, the brilliant parts, the frustrating parts, and just acknowledging all of it as part of who they are, without feeling this constant urge to fix it. And this really breaks it down, doesn't it? Acceptance isn't just giving up. That's passive resignation. It's an active acknowledgement. It's not some grudging compromise you make under pressure. It's about truly honoring the whole person. And maybe the most important distinction of all, it's about allowing them to be, instead of trying to mold them into some perfect version that exists only in your head. So what does this choice, this active acceptance, actually do for a relationship? Well, from a psychological standpoint, it creates the one thing that every lasting bond needs to survive: a deep, profound sense of safety. The famous psychologist Carl Rogers had a term for this. He called it unconditional positive regard. And what he discovered was just incredible. When people feel completely and totally accepted, no strings attached, they don't just stay stagnant. They actually start to grow. They start to heal and expand into the very best version of themselves, all on their own. And that right there is the magic ingredient. When your partner knows they can show up exactly as they are, tired, grumpy, joyful, whatever, and still be valued, that builds this incredible foundation of safety. And that safety, that's the only place true intimacy can actually take root. I love this metaphor. That feeling of safety really is like rich, fertile soil. A new relationship might start out like a delicate little flower, beautiful but fragile. But when it's planted in the soil of acceptance, it can grow deep, strong roots and become a tree that can weather pretty much any storm. And that brings us to this really wonderful way of looking at a relationship, thinking of it like a garden. In this garden, acceptance is what allows all the different, unique plants to flourish side by side. Right? So just imagine you're walking through this amazing garden. You see this gorgeous rose with its own specific color, its own thorns, its whole vibe. Now that rose doesn't look around at all the other flowers and start making demands. It doesn't demand that the lotus next to it should smell more like a rose. Of course not. The whole beauty of the garden is that each flower gets to be completely itself. The point isn't to have a garden full of clones. It's to celebrate all the amazing variety. And this isn't just some lofty idea. It's real life. This is the husband who's always in a rush, learning to see his wife's slower pace, not as a flaw, but as thoughtfulness. It's the super organized wife learning to find the charm in her husband's creative chaos instead of always trying to clean it up. That's the garden, right there, in full bloom. So when you do this work, when you cultivate this garden of acceptance, what happens? What's the end result? Well, it's nothing less than a total transformation of the relationship itself. And listen, this isn't just feel-good talk. We've got the science to back it up. A top researcher named John Gottman has spent decades studying couples, and he found that the ones who make it for the long haul aren't the couples who never fight. No way. They're the ones who are absolute masters of acceptance. It's the secret sauce for resilience. Gottman even identified these little habits, these rituals of acceptance. And they're simple things, really. It's using gentle humor to break the tension. It's being quick to forgive. And maybe the biggest one, it's having that wisdom to just let things go, to not get hung up on every little imperfection. Because when you practice these things, something kind of magical happens.
acceptance acts like this great dissolver. All those walls we build up with our anger and our ego and our pride, they just start to melt away.
And what you're left with is this huge shift in your entire point of view. You're not fighting against your partner anymore. You're not trying to win or be right. Instead, you find yourselves walking alongside each other, heading in the same direction. This is really the heart of the whole thing. It is the single most important transformation a relationship can go through. It takes that whole dynamic of me versus you, and it turns it into us. And in that one little word, everything changes. You're no longer opponents. You're a team. That's the real harvest. That's the prize. And once you get to that place of us, the relationship becomes something more than just two people living together. It becomes this safe, almost sacred space. It's a place where you both can keep growing and healing and becoming even better than you could have ever been on your own. So, I'll just leave you with this to chew on. Think about someone you care about. What's one of their little quirks or differences that maybe causes a bit of friction? Now, what would it look like just for today to stop tolerating it and instead to make the choice to actually celebrate it?